Guilty on all counts. A jury convicting Jennifer Crumbley of manslaughter in the deaths of 4 Oxford High School students.
Yeah, we remember all of those faces here today. It's the first time the parent of a mass shooter has been found criminally responsible. Let's take you to the court and the moment the jury delivered their decision.
On count 1 of involuntary manslaughter as to Madison Baldwin, we find the defendant guilty of involuntary manslaughter. On count 2 of involuntary manslaughter in regards to Tate Muir, we find the defendant guilty of involuntary manslaughter. On count 3, as to involuntary manslaughter regarding Hannah St. Juliana, we find the defendant guilty of involuntary manslaughter. And in count 4 of involuntary manslaughter against Justin Schilling, we find the defendant guilty of involuntary manslaughter. Thank you for allowing me.
You saw there she just pursed her lips, didn't have much of an expression, kind of a blank look on her face. Ms. Crumbley did. Prosecutors say the Crumbley parents didn't properly secure the gun and the ammo used in the shooting and also failed to get help for their troubled son's mental issues.
The shooter's father, James Crumbley, is set to go on trial next. Fox News' Charlie Langton has been in court throughout this case. He's joining us live now with more. And Charlie, you know, you have to feel for those parents. It's not going to bring these kids back, but maybe some vindication for them today.
I think so. Obviously, as we've been talking about all week, this is a case that does have national implications. And now I think people are, parents out there watching this, guilty on all counts. You're going to have to start looking at your kids. TikTok, your kids, text messages, your kids, what they're watching on television. And certainly don't buy them a gun if they have any kind of either mental illness, depression, etc. Listen, a lot of people were hoping for this verdict. Honestly, the jury was only out a day and a half. And in the grand scope of things, that's not really a long time. Generally, that does help the prosecution. And in this case, it did. Now, it was a packed courthouse, I'll say today, with media from around the country, as well as court watchers and victims, including Craig Schilling, who did talk a little bit after the verdict. But let's recap a little bit about what happened and watch Jennifer Crumbley's reaction when the jury said guilty. Take a look.
We find the defendant guilty of involuntary manslaughter.
Jennifer Crumbley's hand touches her face in disbelief, but other than that, no emotion, as 4 guilty verdicts were read Tuesday afternoon.
Jury seat number 3, is that your verdict?
Yes.
6 men, 6 women, most who own guns and most who are parents, only took a day and a half to come up with the unanimous verdict.
All rise for the jury.
It's definitely a step toward the accountability like what we've been talking about.
Craig Schilling, Justin Schilling's father, was present every day during this trial.
I mean, everything about that was disturbing. There's a lot of stuff that could have easily thwarted this whole thing. It could have been stopped very easily.
I asked Craig Schilling what would he say to Jennifer Crumbley right now, and he looked around, he said, I just can't say that on television. Now, he will get a chance to speak at sentencing. The judge set the sentencing for April 9th. Jennifer Crumbley's looking at up to 15 years in prison, although there will be guidelines on manslaughter. I haven't done the math yet, but it's certainly upper 10, probably close to about 10 years. So the sentence would be roughly 10 to 15 years in prison. There's a gag order in this case. We did try to talk to Karen McDonald. She really couldn't talk. Shannon Smith, the attorney for Jennifer Crumbley, also, although in the courtroom, but again, she couldn't talk because of the gag order. And the gag order remains in effect until James's trial. That's the husband, James Crumbley, will go on trial in a couple of weeks. Now, some people were saying that James Crumbley was the one that bought the gun. So at this point in time, James Crumbley, if he's in the Oakland County Jail right behind me, he's watching this verdict of guilty for arguably less implication with regard to the criminal activity. He might be thinking plea. I don't know if they'd offer a plea, but we'll have to see. As far as an appeal goes, it is a possibility. Likely Jennifer Crumbley will appeal. There are some appellate issues, technical issues, but nevertheless, the jury spoke today. And to be honest, it's really hard to undo a jury verdict. I am live outside the Oakland County Courthouse. Taryn, I'll send it back to you.
And curious about sentencing, Charlie, and certainly because James Crumbley still has to go on trial, could they perhaps, the judge, maybe make her sentence maybe a little less than, or you said the guidelines, it would have to be up to 10 years. Could she get maybe perhaps 2 years off for being time served at this point? I mean, what are some of the circumstances with that?
Well, so what they'll do is right now they'll have a pre-sentence report. So there'll be experts that go in there. They will assess different factors, including her past criminal record, which is 0, none. And then, but the problem in this case, though, the victims here, we have 4 dead teenagers murdered, and she is guilty now of manslaughter, contributing to those deaths. So I haven't done the math yet, but I would suspect it's going to be high. Anyway, the lawyers will argue the guidelines, and obviously the defense will want them low, prosecutor will want them high, probably somewhere in the middle. I don't know what the judge is going to do on this case. But in Michigan, though, it'll be whatever the guideline is, the bottom number, and that'll be up to 15 years. So theoretically, Jennifer Crumbley could spend 15 years in prison. Remember, she has to serve the minimum of whatever that bottom number is, and then she'll be eligible for parole. And if she's a bad prisoner, she may do 15 years. Taryn?
All right, we'll have to see what happens then in April. Until then, though, thank you so much, Charlie, and we will talk to you again at 6. Well, Auburn Hills police are still searching for a missing infant and her mother. Officers say Amanda Prowell Smith assaulted a family member before taking off with 1-month-old Eliza last Friday. Smith has a history of mental health issues. The baby was not born in a hospital, has no birth certificate, and has not been seen by a doctor. Smith has 2 other children who have been removed from her care. Anyone with information about the whereabouts are asked to call 911.
Well, Dearborn High School goes into lockdown after a shell casing is found in the building. Dearborn police got to the school around 8:30 this morning after that casing was found. That's when the school went into lockdown as law enforcement swept the building. Turns out there wasn't a threat and the lockdown was lifted. It's not clear tonight how the shell casing got there in the first place.
Meanwhile, a very concerning note found at Warren Middle School.
Yeah, the district says the student had a list of classmates' names on that list that was titled Death List. Fox 2's Camila Mary has a warning from administrators.
We've had 2 incidents in schools within the last 24 hours.
The first one happened Monday at Carter Middle School in Warren.
A 6th grader, female student, had a notebook that was discovered by one of the teachers, I understand. And in there was what they call a death list, and she stated a death list, and there was 14 names on that.
The second incident, also on Monday, occurred at Chatterton Middle School, also in Warren.
And that involved a 13-year-old male who had a fight in the school yesterday and made a threat that he's coming back today with a gun.
That student was arrested and taken into police custody. Investigators confiscated a loaded 9mm handgun from the boy's home.
I'm not sure, you know, what is in the minds of these young people and what the parents are doing. I mean, the parents obviously have a responsibility.
Both middle school students are facing serious criminal charges.
We'll have the charges against her. They will present something to the prosecutor's office, and the prosecutor will make a determination in both cases what the appropriate charges will be.
Warren Police Commissioner Bill Dwyer says law enforcement has no choice but to take every threat seriously.
The problem we have today is that you're going to have more shootings. You're going to have more victims. It's on the rise. It's on the increase. You know it's going to happen. That's why law enforcement has to be so alert.
In Warren, Camila Mary, Fox 2 News.
Well, we're happy to see the sunshine out there. Can't ask for anything better this time of the year, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, February usually is dreary and drab. The Lions got us through January. The sunshine got us through this week. Rich Luderman, I'm loving everything we're looking at right now.
Rope Town, we needed sun, and we got it today. And it's a dry pattern that continues for the next couple of days. If you look way up here in northern Wisconsin, parts of the UP, they are seeing a bit of sprinkle activity, but not for us. 40 degrees right now with mostly clear skies, 44 in Lansing. A little cooler up there. Mount Pleasant, 36. How about blue skies right now for Mount Clemens? That's the Clinton River right in the middle of your screen. Looks nice. We'll have just a few clouds late tonight. It'll cool off after midnight down to 28. And then this mild stretch continues into Friday. Friday features a few rain showers. And now next week does look a bit cooler. We're going to check that 7-day route coming up in 10.